If you live in New South Wales, South Australia, or Southeast Queensland, something strange just landed in your inbox. From the 1st of July, your electricity retailer has to offer you a plan with 3 hours of completely free power in the middle of the day. Not discounted. Free. And your first instinct is probably the correct one. When a power company starts giving electricity away, someone, somewhere, is coming out ahead. So let's follow the money and find out who. To understand why free power exists, you need to understand how the price of electricity is actually set, because it is nothing like how you'd assume. Your bill looks like a simple thing. You use this many kilowatt hours, you pay this much. But behind that number sits a live auction that most Australians have no idea is running. The national electricity market covers the entire East Coast. Every 5 minutes, around the clock, generators bid to supply power for the next 5-minute block. Coal plants, gas plants, wind farms, solar farms, big batteries, all of them naming their price. The market operator, AEMO, stacks the bids from cheapest to most expensive and accepts them in order until demand is covered. And here is the first strange rule. The price paid to all of the accepted generators is set by the most expensive bid that got accepted. When a gas plant fires up on a cold evening at a high price, the wind farm that bid low gets paid that high price too. Your retailer sits between you and this auction. They buy at the wholesale price, which swings wildly across the day, and they sell to you at a retail price, which mostly doesn't. Flattening that chaos into a predictable bill is genuinely a service. It is also where the margin lives. Now add solar. Australia has one of the highest rates of rooftop solar in the world, and it has quietly rewired the shape of the whole market. On a sunny day, by late morning, millions of rooftops are pouring power into a grid that doesn't need it. Demand from the grid collapses. Wholesale prices in the middle of the day routinely crash towards zero, and on many days, they go negative. Read that again. Negative. There are hours where generators effectively pay to keep supplying electricity, because shutting a coal plant down and restarting it costs more than paying to stay on. By the end of last year, the main grids passed 50% renewable generation for the first time. The middle of the day now has too much electricity, and the early evening, when the sun drops and dinner goes on, has too little. You can see this rebalancing on the bill itself. The regulated default prices that reset on the 1st of July fell by a few percent in New South Wales and by around 7% in southeast Queensland, while South Australia crept slightly upward, partly because of the growing cost of keeping a solar-heavy grid stable. The headline prices are drifting down, and yet plenty of bills still feel like they only travel in one direction, because state rebates that were papering over the gap have been winding back at the same time. That gap between a worthless lunchtime and an expensive dinner time is the real story of your power bill. And it is exactly the problem the free power plan was built to solve. Here's the twist. The 3 free hours are not a gift. They are plumbing. The new plan is called the Solar Sharer Offer, and it wasn't dreamed up by a retailer's marketing team. It was designed by the federal government and priced by the Australian Energy Regulator, and from the 1st of July, any retailer with more than 1,000 customers in the 3 regions is required to offer it. You opt in, you need a smart meter, and you get a set 3-hour window in the middle of the day where usage is free, up to a generous daily cap. Outside that window, you pay time of use rates, and the whole thing is priced against the regulated default offer, so the rates outside the free window are capped rather than invented. Why would the system want you to have free power at noon? Because every kettle, dishwasher, and car charger you shift into that window soaks up solar that would otherwise be pushing prices negative and straining the grid. And every kilowatt hour you move out of the evening peak is a kilowatt hour a retailer doesn't have to buy at the most expensive time of day. You are not being given something, you are being recruited. Your washing machine is being drafted into grid management. So, who actually benefits? Work through the chain. The grid benefits because demand gets nudged toward the hours of oversupply, which means less strain, fewer extreme price events, and less need to build expensive infrastructure just to survive the evening peak. Retailers benefit because the electricity they give you at noon costs them close to nothing at that hour, while the plan itself works as a shiny customer acquisition tool in a market where most households can't be bothered switching. The government benefits because free power is a very good headline in a cost of living election cycle, and it arrives through regulation rather than the budget. And here's the bit they leave out. At the same moment free daytime power arrived, the money paid to households for exporting their own rooftop solar has been sliding toward nothing. Benchmark feed-in rates in New South Wales dropped again in July, and at least one major retailer's standing offer now pays 0 cents per kilowatt hour for exported solar. Sit with that for a second. The same midday electricity is treated as close to worthless when a household sells it into the grid, and yet valuable enough to work as the centerpiece of a customer offer when a retailer hands it back to you. No rule was broken to get here. This is just what the incentives produce when the middle of the day drowns in sunshine. The price of solar energy falls towards zero, and whoever controls the pipes and the plans decides how that surplus gets packaged. There is a second catch worth naming. The free window is only worth something if you can actually use it. The plan is built around time of use pricing, and time of use plans make evenings more expensive than flat rates. If you are out at work all day, if you rent and can't get a smart meter sorted, if your big appliances can't run on a timer, the free window may do very little for you, while the pricier evening rates do plenty. The households best placed to win from this are the ones with flexible schedules, timers, home batteries, or an electric car, which is to say, often the households already winning. A plan marketed as free power for the battler can quietly function as a discount for the well set up. So what does this mean for you? Not a recommendation, just the mechanics laid bare so you can judge it. The question that decides whether this plan helps you is a simple one. How much of your usage can you physically move into the middle of the day? Dishwashers and washing machines with delay start buttons. Hot water systems on timers. Pre-cooling or preheating the house before the evening. Charging a car while it sits in the driveway. If a decent slice of your usage can migrate into the window, 3 free hours a day is a real number. If it can't, the time of use rates on the rest of your day are the number that matters, and they deserve a hard look before you sign anything. 2 practical footnotes. The rates outside the free window are regulated against the default offer, which means there is a ceiling on them, and that ceiling is public. You can look it up rather than take anyone's word for it. And retailers are required to tell you, at least once every 100 days, whether they have a better plan for you. That message is usually sitting unread in the same inbox as the free power announcement. The entire retail electricity system is built on one quiet assumption: that you will not pay attention. Standing offers exist for people who don't switch. Evening peaks are priced for people who don't shift. The gap between the best plan and the default one is, in effect, a tax on being busy. Free power at lunchtime doesn't change that design. But it is one of the rare moments where the system's interests and yours point in the same direction, and where 10 minutes of attention has a visible payoff. Whether the solar sharer offer is generosity or grid management doesn't really matter in the end. It's both. The only question worth asking is the one this channel exists for. Now that you know who benefits, do you want to be one of them?